All right. The last outpost. Well, this is a very, very noteworthy episode because of the fact that it does some deep lore building, like serious deep lore building. This is the sort of thing where that is the equivalent of a session where you throw out new enemies, new background lore details, give people a reason to go looking for things. Which, admittedly, the people who actually play out this episode don't. That I'm going to get back to. Oh boy, is there a lot of that to get back to. Because that is what I personally found to be the most fascinating thing about this episode. The first time I saw this episode, I didn't really think about the background lore. Second and third times, though, I just stared at it with this like stunned drool on my face, like, what did they just say? But again, I'll get back to that. So, the bad guy of the episode is this gentleman, a Ferengi by the name of Daimon Tar. Now, Daimon Tar had raided the Gamatari for unmanned Federation listening post. Yeah, he raided an unmanned listening post, and the Enterprise is going after him because of the fact that he stole equipment that was critical to the functioning of the unmanned listening post that he raided. I mean, it's referred to as a T9 energy converter. Mm, yeah, this is literally the only thing anyone has ever known about that. Um, Not much to say there. It's the excuse for the plot to happen. So, Thymontar Tar steals the T9 energy converter. Presumably, it's somewhere on board his Dakara. And notably, this is the first time we actually see, okay, us as the viewers of the TV show. This is the first time one of us sees a Dakara. So, that's is something that would be akin to like, oh, hey, here's a new thing to ponder about in TTRPG too, because again, first time we see the Ferengi, see first time we see examples of Ferengi technology, and so on and so forth. Now, from an in-universe perspective, the Federation has encountered Ferengi before, and that becomes a major plot point later because a certain Ferengi actually wants revenge against Picard for something Picard did years prior that you know, wasn't really a revenge thing for Picard, anyways. But that's a different episode. Now, in universe, the Federation has a pretty good idea who the Ferengi are, where their territory is, and so on and so forth. However, individual Ferengi captains will often, shall we say, play with the boundaries of the Ferengi I'm not sure what exactly their government is called at this point. But anyway, though, the basic gist of it, though, is that the Ferengi are constantly acting in ways trying to um, expand the scope of influence of their race. And Ferengi captains are expected to work to earn a profit. But earning a profit is often things like annexing star systems. If Daimon Tar had been able to find a way to steal the entire Gamatari colony and perhaps even force the Federation to cede control of that to the Ferengi, that would have, you know, that would have given him a major amount of clout for having a, a victory over the Federation, even if he never fired a shot to do it. Simply stealing the outpost and making it Ferengi territory would have been a massive, massive victory for him. And that was actually a big deal in the early Ferengi things, is that the Ferengi would often do stuff like that, is that it's government approved actions, but there's a reason Decoras are called marauders. The Ferengi are going around trying to find anything and everything that's stealable. Because if you're too close to Ferengi space, they will steal your stuff. And yeah. Now, this, of course, has rules to it. So it's not like they're just going to just jack everything. But Ferengi are known for engaging in piracy every now and then. But only when it's, justifiable after a fashion. Yeah, understanding Ferengi culture in that regard is actually a big deal. And if you're going to use Ferengi in stories, especially as villains and not just random traitors, you need to carefully consider the Ferengi concept of fair play because they do have one. Granted, it's flexible and more like guidelines than actual laws, but they do have one. And Ferengi do have laws. And breaking a Ferengi law, yeah, don't do that as a Ferengi. You just don't. Anyway, though, so Diamantar's actions were not actually condemned by the Ferengi government because of the fact that it was Federation junk literally just left laying on a planet where anyone could walk up and walk off with it. I mean, that seriously is it. Is that his team uh, went to a considerable amount of time and effort to make sure that they stole the T9 energy converter without breaking it. And they didn't actually do a whole lot of damage to the Federation outpost in the process. They did, however, completely disable the entire outpost. The only clue that the Federation had as to what happened was that they got a nice picture of Diamantar's ship as it was approaching the outpost, and the whole thing just goes completely offline, and that's all they got out of it. I do think that the information may have been sent back via subspace radio. However, if you are writing a story about something like this in the TTRPG, feel free to, throw in subspace radio broadcasts if you want, or don't. It's all up to you. Because in universe logic, there's multiple different reasons for having a outpost broadcast intruder alarms in real time or not. You can make up whatever rationale you want. Anyway, though, moving on to the last outpost. See, the location in which the Federation fight the Ferengi is in many ways similar to the that one Day of the Dove episode from TOS where the Klingons and the Federation are fighting like they normally do, and then a super powered alien race decides to tell them to stop. I mean, you know, it does kind of end up in that regard. See, um, they end up in orbit of Delphi Ardu. Now, Delphi Ardu is the location of Portal 63. Now, this is something that's very interesting to me. And obviously, I'm skipping ahead to the ending of this because I don't feel like scrutinizing all of the details because See, in an episode like this, the majority of the episode is the cast of the TV show acting out what would in a TTRPG be decisions made by the players. So, half the episode is Riker and his away team mucking around on the surface of the planet with the Ferengi away team. No one actually gets killed, shockingly. But in part, though, that is because of the fact that Portal 63 set up a combat arena for them to fight each other in that made it functionally impossible for them to actually properly fight. As when the Ferengi tried using their energy whip things, the energy bolts would just fly into one of the crystal thingies. They didn't actually hit the target. Yeah, these crystal thingies. Very spooky looking. Now, Delphi Ardu is interesting as a location because the fact that while it does have what is nominally a Class M environment, it is incredibly borderline and not something that people would consider hospitable. Noteworthy is the fact that when the Takan lived here, they did not, in fact, actually build a city here. They built a monitoring station. Yeah, that's all Portal 63 is. The AI controlling the Takan monitoring station on Delphi, Ar- Delphi Ardu 4. Now, the interesting thing here is that Portal 63 doesn't even know that the Takan are gone. He'd been sleeping for so long that the Takan who created him were dead and gone before he woke up. And this is part of this whole thing that I found to be so interesting. It's a super alien race. Well, they have incredible technology, but Portal 63 is actually just a minor example of it. See, I mentioned earlier that Daimon Tar had stolen critical components out of the Gamatari uh, monitoring station that the Federation had built. Well, Portal 63 was the Takan equivalent of an unmanned outpost. And it's all that's left of their empire. Seemingly, anyways. Now, one of the things that's interesting here is that you get this map. When it says Portal 63, that comes with the inclination that it's sequentially numbered outposts created by the Takan for monitoring a territory area. Interesting to say the least. And it's known that the Takan as a race died off so long ago that most of the people who live in that region of space actually didn't know they ever existed because so little of them remains in the present day, which is again part of what made Portal 63's appearance so surprising is that other than the whole weird energy drain thing, which is kind of stated as being something that could be turned up quite a lot in order to be more hostile. Portal 63 wasn't actually trying to kill people. Granted, his actions could easily have led to that, but he hadn't, made a conscious effort to kill everyone. And because the fact that Riker passed his test, Portal 63 is like, okay, fine, I'll shut off the energy drain and let everyone live. and then everyone goes back to normal and stuff. Yeah. How exactly powerful is this outpost at the Khan Belt? We don't really know. But plot convenience powers and aside, this kind of sort of feels like a GM insert character here because you don't give this power to your players, and you probably don't want to have this sort of power just doing whatever the dice roll tell him to do because, I mean, are players going to be dumb enough to dare him to kill them? Yes, probably. Anyway, though, moving on. So, using the Takan as a plot point, that's this is what I was getting at earlier when I was saying that it's like uh, telling a dog that there's bacon somewhere in the house and expecting the dog to not go searching for it. This map, a map of places known to have had Takan living in them. Well, we know what Portal 63 is capable of. What are all of these capable of? What secrets of Takan technology could be gleaned from studying these locations? That is a very interesting question indeed. And this is the sort of thing where I could actually visualize players in a TTRPG like Star Trek Adventures going like, "Oh, so here's one place with Takan stuff, and then this is a list of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, etc., etc., etc." It's like, okay, so this is Portal 63. Now let's go find all of them from 1 to 64 and call it good. I could totally see a group of players in a TTRPG doing that because of the fact that investigating the Takan would actually seem like a fun plot idea. Now, giving your players Takan technology and expecting them not to do things that are like utterly ridiculous with it. You must be new here. Anyway, though, but that's an interesting thing is that while this does technically have combat, it's not fighting to the death. And that kind of makes things interesting because of the fact that it makes y- the players in the story, um, well, best way to put this. It forces them to look for plot important things and not just murder hobo. Because, you know, as is often stated, murder hoboing might be the easy way to do TTRPGs, but it is by no means what should be considered to be the best way, or even necessarily the normal way. It all depends on what the story is and what kind of story it is. And this isn't a story that actually makes sense as a group of people just like running around and killing everything because, as it turns out, that was exactly what Portal 63 was looking for. Portal 63 despises murder hobos. And if Riker had been a murder hobo, Portal 63 would have actually just, completely drained the Enterprise and probably just thrown it into the sun to dispose of it. The Ferengi, okay, yes, they're vicious marauders, but they're not actually particularly. Um, what's the best way to put this? Malicious, because that's the one of the interesting things with the Ferengi and what made them so unusual as villains is that the actual level of malice the Ferengi display in most episodes involving them is pretty low. It's like, oh, we're here to steal stuff so we can sell it for money. Not, "We're here to kill you and everyone you know because it amuses us." No, they actually don't want to kill you. They want to steal your stuff and then maybe steal more stuff from you later if you live long enough to find more stuff. Like this guy here, he's not dead. See, because these Ferengi energy whips, they can knock you unconscious, and they're pretty good at that. They're not designed to kill people though, and that is part of what made this story so interesting. Because the Ferengi really weren't out for blood. It was the Federation who was hunting the Ferengi. And that kind of recontextualizes the encounter, though. It's like, oh, we're here because you stole stuff from us. And the Ferengi are like, yes, 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 we stole stuff from you. So, really, really makes you stop and think about it, though, when you realize that, though, is that the Ferengi really weren't trying to kill people. So, for the Federation crew to murder hobo them would not have been appropriate at all. Diamond Tar and his crew hadn't actually done anything that was worthy of actually getting shot at by the Enterprise. Ah, and with that, I think I will end this because, again, setting up a bad guy in a story, you need to consider the extent of the bad guy's villainy. What is an appropriate reaction for the players? In this particular story, the appropriate reaction was to sternly talk to them. And that was it. All right. See you guys next